Good evening. Good evening and welcome to our platforms, nrpmediaja.com, also Facebook and YouTube at nrpmediaja. It's Wednesday, March 13, 2024. I am Luann Bramwell Shanks with the NRP Evening News Roundup. Here are the headlines. Jamaica now has a fully functional electronic procurement system, but PNP cautions about integrity and potential for fraud in this initiative. Government announces that work is being done to address anomalies related to the implementation of the new public sector compensation structure. Effective April 2024, the personal income tax threshold will move from 1.5 million to 1.7 million. Schools in the Grange Hill community of Westmoreland are set to reopen for classes tomorrow. And in sport, Wales centre George North has announced he will retire from international rugby after the Six Nations on Saturday. The news today is brought to you courtesy of NRP Radio, reaching you where you are, no boundaries, no limitations.
Hi, I'm Genevieve.
And I'm Kalisha. And we are the Chryso Praises. You're listening to NRP Media and Radio. Reaching you where you are. No boundaries, no limitations.
And now the news in details. Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, says Jamaica now has a fully functional electronic procurement system. He noted that the government of Jamaica electronic procurement system, through its several modules, manages tender calls and bid submissions and aids in bid evaluation. The minister, who was opening the 2024-2025 budget debate in the House of Representatives yesterday, added that it is basically indispensable throughout all the stages of the procurement process. The finance minister added that since August 1, 2023, it has been mandatory to use JOJEP for procurement transactions, about $1.5 million. And since then, hundreds of suppliers have been onboarded, additional user training has been facilitated, and real-time provided support to both suppliers and procurement entities. In addition to providing reliable data and other information on the functioning of the country's procurement process, the system is also expected to increase the ease of doing business with government and reduce bureaucracy. Dr. Clark said that during the 3-year transition period to JOJEP, the government has invested in the production of easy-to-use manuals for suppliers and procurement practitioners, together with multimedia aids and other similar tools. These, he said, are available on the websites of the JOJEP and the Office of Public Procurement Policy. Meanwhile, the People's National Party has expressed concerns about the announced changes to the public procurement process and its potential implications. Opposition spokesman on finance and the public service, Julian Robinson, says he acknowledges the need for streamlining procedures and using technology to aid in the country's development. However, he added that there are significant worries regarding the integrity and potential for fraud in this initiative. The shadow minister highlighted that the allegations of corruption and misappropriation of public funds faced by the government compound worries about the integrity of the procurement process. He emphasized the importance of transparency in government operations, particularly in procurement. According to Mr. Robinson, the citizens cannot trust the government embroiled in integrity issues to manage procurement without proper checks and balances. He questioned that with the government, with 6 of its members under investigation by the Integrity Commission, and the Prime Minister whose statutory declarations are yet to be certified, raises serious doubts about their ability to manage procurement without adequate oversight. He said the opposition therefore calls on the government to outline the mechanisms that will be in place to ensure a smooth transition to the new public procurement process, as well as publish all contracts exceeding $10 million, thereby ensuring transparency and accountability. Meanwhile, Finance and Public Service Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says work is being done to address anomalies related to the implementation of the new public sector compensation structure. Opening the 2024-2025 budget debate in the House of Representatives yesterday, Dr. Clark said some cases have to do with inherent issues in the classification structure of the public sector. Dr. Clark says some of the challenges include genuine anomalies that affected classification groups. He says a panel of classification experts have been put together and are currently reviewing these anomalies. Their work is expected to be completed by the end of this month, and corrective actions are also expected to be implemented before the end of the first quarter in the new fiscal year. Effective April 2024, the personal income tax threshold will move from $1.5 million to $1.7 million. This was announced by Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, while opening the 2024-2025 budget debate in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Dr. Clark said the measure will cost approximately $9 billion. He also announced a reverse tax credit for all Jamaicans who earn under $3 million. Dr. Clark added that the reverse tax credit means for every registered taxpayer who earns under $3 million, the government will provide a reverse tax credit of $20,000. The cost of this program will be $11.4 billion. The minister informed that there will be an established system for the processing and payment of the reverse tax credits through Tax Administration Jamaica, TAJ. He informed that this will take some time to set up before it's ready, and as such, he added that efforts are being made to ensure that it is durable and potentially available again in the future. Schools in the Grange Hill community of Westmoreland are set to reopen for classes tomorrow, thanks to the decisive action taken by local police and military forces. This development comes after a recent flare-up in gang violence forced educational institutions in the area to close their doors, disrupting the lives of many students and educators. Head of the Jamaica Constabulary Force Area 1, Assistant Commissioner of Police Clifford Chambers, provided an optimistic update on the situation. According to him, in response to the fear of crime, violence, and gang activities, the JCF has launched several initiatives with the support of the military. This includes enforcing a curfew and conducting road policing efforts. He added that the police have underscored their commitment to the Grange Hill community, not just as a temporary measure, but as a presence aimed at fostering a safe and secure environment over the long haul. The Westmoreland Police, headed by SSP Wayne Joseph, will be working closely with all stakeholders, including local schools, community leaders, and the residents, to ensure that the peace and safety restored through recent interventions are maintained. You are listening to news on NRP Radio, your primary Christian source for news, sports, and the weather on nrpmediaja.com, reaching you where you are, no boundaries, no limitations.
Hi, I'm Genevieve.
And I'm Kalisha. And we are the Christo Praises. You're listening to NRP Media and Radio. Reaching you where you are. No boundaries, no limitations.
And now let's give you some sporting information brought to you by Hepburn's Glass, located at 13 Chisholm Avenue in Kingston.
Hepburn's Glass Supplies is the latest trend-setting supplier of glass and mirrors in the industry. We specialize in tinted and clear glasses, as well as mirrors for all your windows, doors, and closets at very competitive prices. To maximize your shopping experience, we stock 316 and 1/8 mirror thickness and 316 and quarter thickness in our entire stock of float glasses. We have in stock gloves, cutters, and suction cups at unbeatable prices. Our customer service is second to none, with same-day cutting for your specific measurements. Visit our office at 13 Chisholm Avenue, Kingston 13. Call us at 908-0962 or email hepburn.glass@gmail.com. Hepburn's Glass. Quality service is our priority.
And now for our sports stories. We run off on rugby. Wales centre George North has announced he will retire from international rugby after the Six Nations on Saturday. The home game against Italy will be his 121st and final Wales appearance. North, 31, is Wales' third most capped player in history, behind only Alun Wyn-Jones and Gethin Jenkins. He will continue playing club rugby, having announced he will move from Ospreys to French side Provence for the 2024-2025 season. North is the latest Wales player to announce his retirement within the last year, following Jones, Justin Tipuric, Riz Webb, Josh Navidi, Dan Biggar, and Leigh Halfpenny. North had initially said he wanted to continue his international career, despite his club move to France. He stated in November 2023 he had no intentions to quit Wales and gave no indication in February 2024 of this decision before his 50th Six Nations game against England. However, Wales head coach Warren Gatland said he held honest discussions with North about how he could get through to a potential fifth World Cup. North was not selected for the opening match against Scotland, but returned against England and Ireland before being dropped for the defeat by France last weekend. On cricket, England batter Harry Brook has made the difficult decision to withdraw from this year's Indian Premier League following the death of his grandmother. The Yorkshire man, 25, was set to play for Delhi Capitals after being bought for £380,000 in December. Brook missed England's recent 4-1 Test series defeat in India after his grandmother first became ill. Now that she has passed, my family and I are grieving, and I need to be around them, he said in a social media post. The 2024 IPL starts on the 22nd of March, with the final taking place on the 25th or the 26th of May. And finally, on Formula One action, Olivia Bearman wants to fulfill a childhood dream by earning a Formula One seat next year after making his debut at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. The 18-year-old became the youngest Briton to start a Grand Prix when he was called up by Ferrari to replace Carlos Sainz, who had appendicitis. Bearman finished ahead of 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. Getting a taste of this amazing world, I know what I'm missing out on up there in the F1, Bearman said. Ferrari teammate Charles Leclerc said, and I quote, "It is just a matter of time before he is in F1, end quote. While British 1996 world champion Damien Hill wrote on X, formerly Twitter, and I quote, "Star is born now," end quote. That's sports in our NRP Evening News Roundup, brought to you by Hepburn's Glass, located at 13 Chisholm Avenue, Kingston 13. We promise to bring you a good news story as often as we can. If you know of or are aware of any event or person whose good story we should highlight, please send this information to our email address at nationalreligiousmediaja@gmail.com or call or WhatsApp 876-336-9928. That's the local news and sport. Stand by now for the latest international news, courtesy of the Voice of America.
This is VOA News. I'm Joe Ramsey. Smoke could be seen from the southern Israel border after an explosion in Gaza on Wednesday as Israeli army deployed ground troops in the area near the border with the enclave. The United Nations said Israeli forces on Wednesday hit a food distribution site in southern Gaza run by the UN agency that works with Palestinian refugees, killing one staff member from the agency and wounding 22 others. The Syrian civil war has faded from the headlines but is far from over. On the 13th anniversary, rebel militaries and families on the front line say battles there are intensifying and increasingly deadly. VOA's Heather Murdoch reports from Istanbul.
What began as peaceful protests in Syria in early 2011 quickly became a gruesome civil war. More than a decade later, the battles and the humanitarian crisis they have caused continue. For families on the front lines, the end is nowhere in sight. The government of President Bashar al-Assad controls most of Syria, but the United Nations says fighting in recent months has seen its largest escalation in 4 years, causing an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. Heather Murdoch in Istanbul with Muawiyah Atrash and Ahmed Falaha in Idlib, Syria. VOA News.
President Vladimir Putin says Russia is ready to use nuclear weapons if its sovereignty or independence is threatened. It was another blunt warning to the West just days before an election in which the Russian leader is all but certain to win another 6-year term. Putin has repeatedly talked about his readiness to use nuclear weapons since launching a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. This is VOA News.
That was the latest international news, courtesy of the Voice of America. Now for the weather report and forecast. The National Meteorological Service is reporting that there's a significant feature of a ridge across Jamaica. The ridge is expected to remain across the island into the weekend, coupled with low-level jet streams, which should develop with south of Jamaica by tomorrow. In our 24-hour forecast, tonight will be mainly fair. Tomorrow morning and afternoon, mostly sunny, except across sections of eastern parishes, which could experience occasionally mostly cloudy conditions, becoming windy. In our 3-day forecast after tomorrow, Friday, mostly sunny in the morning, partly cloudy afternoon, becoming windy. Saturday and Sunday, partly cloudy morning, isolated showers in the vicinity of hilly areas in the afternoon, becoming windy. Other current regional weather features: a high pressure system across the Western Atlantic, a low pressure system over North Colombia. Minimum temperature expected for Kingston tonight, 23 degrees Celsius. Minimum temperature expected for Monterey, also 23 degrees Celsius. That is the latest weather report and forecast on NRP Radio. With that, we have come to the end of our news presentation this evening. But before we go, here are the headlines once again. Jamaica now has a fully functional electronic procurement system, but PNP cautions about integrity and potential for fraud in this initiative. Government announces that work is being done to address anomalies related to the implementation of the new public sector compensation structure. Effective April 2024, the personal income tax threshold will move from 1.5 million to 1.7 million. Schools in the Grange Hill community of Westmoreland are set to reopen for classes tomorrow. And in sport, Wales centre George North has announced he will retire from the international rugby after Six Nations on Saturday. The full half-an-hour package of news in this NRP Evening News Roundup came to you courtesy of NRP Radio, reaching you where you are. No boundaries, no limitations.
Hi, I'm Genevieve.
And I'm Kalisha. And we are the Christ Praises. You're listening to NRP Media and Radio. Reaching you where you are. No boundaries, no limitations.
Psalm 37
Here
verse 8
is your
says,
invitation to join us
"Don't get
again tomorrow
angry.
morning at
Don't
6:30 for the NRP Break of Day
only
Newscast.
leads to trouble." This is NRP Media and Radio. The time is
Shakes for
7 o'clock.
NRP News. We encourage you to
Psalm
join this
37
growing
verse 8
medium
says,
by subscribing
"Don't
to
get
our
angry.
YouTube channel at
Don't
NRP Media JA. Feel fulfilled and informed. Have a good rest of your evening. Reminding you too that if you walk, ride, or drive, make every effort to arrive alive. Have a good one.
The Brown Family.
And you're listening to NRP Media and Radio.
Reaching you where you are. No boundaries, no limitation.